Hello, I'm John Torrens. I teach confident communication, and this is Mr. Andy Bargery.
Hello, John.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. Tell us all about you.
John, I run something called Agency Squared, which is a platform for people that work in agencies to find out how to be great at running an agency. And we're
Brilliant.
doing a training course together called Pitch Perfect.
That's right. So we've discussed lots of different aspects, but today we're going to talk about learning from the masters. So who could you learn from? I'm really interested in TED Talks. I don't know if you watch many of those.
Oh, who hasn't, John? I must have seen gazillions of them.
Yeah, I think to some extent those are pitches. They're normally about 18 minutes long, which is quite long for a pitch, but they're trying to persuade you of an idea. So tell me about your favorite speakers that you've seen or pitches that you've seen.
Well, I think if we're looking at TED Talks, then Sir Ken Robinson is one of my favorites. He delivers his talk with real comedy, and it's just full of great speaking techniques. You know, pauses, introducing or engaging the audience, humor, lots of great stuff. If you watch Sir Ken Robinson.
I like the beginning of, I think it's Do Schools Kill Creativity, where
Yes.
he walks on and he just says, it's good, isn't it? And he sort of looks around like as if he's actually waiting for an answer. And then he says something like, it's so good. In fact, I'm going to leave.
It's
And it's
exactly what he says. Yeah.
just brilliant. And at that moment, he's making himself, I think, very credible, which is quite funny.
Yes.
But lovely techniques, lovely pauses. So he's hesitating, but at the same time, you feel like he really knows what he's talking about, which is very clever.
Yes, it certainly instills confidence that you know what comes next is going to be really well thought out.
Mm.
Yeah.
I like Barack Obama. I think all his
Aha.
speaking seems to be just, I don't know what it is about him. I just like him. And I think he does have an unusual cadence where he delivers little volleys of, so he'll deliver a little phrase and then he pauses so that you can think about it. And then so that speed is quite fast, but he gives you breaks so that you can
So
digest
bite-sized chunks
it.
almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's very good. And I think who else I like. Who else do you like in the political sphere? If I can, and this is purely on speaking ability.
Speaking ability or stage presence. So if we look at stage presence, I
Mm.
quite like Hillary Clinton and the way that she comes on, she bounds onto a stage and engages the audience. I like her technique, the way she does that. We were just talking about her pointing at the audience, hi, hi, hi,
Yeah.
you know, as if all of a sudden everyone in that space is her friend.
Mm. I mean, I also thinking about Boris Johnson, which maybe you don't want to do. His, but I think it's worth analysing his facade of the slightly bumbling fool to some extent. Has been very clever because he's a very sharp person apparently, and this is a persona that lets him get away with things, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend. But it's interesting that it works. It's a technique. He's not aspiring to be perfect by any means, which is it's quite an interesting technique, quite the opposite of other speakers.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Not trying to portray that he knows all the answers, even though behind closed doors, I'm sure he feels as though he does.
Well, this is it, and I think that's the clever thing, whether you like it or not, where there's a vagueness, which means you're not necessarily pinned down. So you think, oh, this is annoying, it's vague. Well, yes, but then that gives you a chance to say, oh yeah, clearly what we meant was this,
Yes.
which is yes. Anyway,
What
so
about outside the world of politics, John? Is there anyone else
let's
that stands out?
quickly move outside that realm. I think going back to the TED Talks. So there's a talk which I really like by Reggie Watts,
Okay.
which is, I think it's called Beats That Defy Boxes. But basically, he uses a sort of a looping pedal, and it's very silly, but it's a great example of someone who really doesn't care what the audience thinks at all. I mean, really, I imagine that there are a lot of people in the audience who found it very funny, but there are as many people who just didn't get it or didn't like it.
Yes.
I think the fact that he doesn't care is very funny in itself, but being completely authentic and amazing stage presence, and it's starting off with a confounding hook as well, where he walks on and starts talking in what I think is a made-up language, and then he switches into French, and then an English accent, a British accent. He's actually American, very good British accent, and then switches to American, and and then he's singing, and so he's basically saying, you don't know who I am at all, which is great, and also he's saying, I don't care, which is very funny.
I have never heard of him or seen that talk, so that is on my to-do list straight away.
Just so you know, he's the musician or the band leader on James Corden's late night show in the States.
Good insight, good knowledge. So, John, that's just, I guess, learning from the masters is a small part of what we're doing in a Pitch Perfect. If our listeners would like to find out about the rest of the course, where should they go to find out more?
They should go immediately to agencysquared.co.uk, click on the training tab, and scroll down to find the Pitch Perfect event, where they can find details of the event and how to buy tickets.
Absolutely. John, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.